What is it, my peeps? What is it, my pups? Oh, okay. Back to the scary stories.
Remember, you can always send me your stories with the links in the description. And real quick, here are the first 5 commenters for my Animal Encounters video. Amy Lacrosse says,
there you go.
Yay, you posted. That's exactly how I feel when I post, because then I won't go hungry. Bella Oh Bella says, hey, sup girl, how you doing?
Oh my
Gabby
gosh.
2055 says, hi, I love your videos. What's your favorite creepypasta? That would be The Showers, a super long and super epic horror story that should have been made a movie a long time ago. Just Call Me Cat says, oof. You guys have my permission to make that a sound effect if you want. And finally, Soul Stealer 3002 comes at us with the most important message I've heard. Pineapple.
Pineapple?
Alright guys, let's dive right into those stories. Number 1. Nightmare Farm. Submitted by Harrison H. Growing up in my native county, a lot of strange things happen. We are a more rural area compared to the town that we call home. Living in Maryland, half of it's country, and the other half is development. I love where I live, but at times, all the trees, noises, creaks, and bumps, they can catch you off guard. This happened about 3 years ago. It was my job on the farm to go and take care of our dogs that we have outside. You might think it's wrong having dogs sleep outside, but we built a large barn with the help of the Amish, which gives us room for equipment for the farm and a small area for the dogs to have beds and bowls. Back then, we had 3 labs. Used to have 4, but we found one of them a home. These dogs are the type of dogs that are bred for hunting. Even at an old age, they would follow you, sit at your side, or fetch anything that you threw for them, as well as whatever you shot down from the sky. So they're not timid dogs in any way. The barn we built was not very far from our old house. If I had to estimate, I would have guessed it was 3/4 of a football field away from the house. Now, that might seem like a long walk, but to us it was normal, as my driveway is called a lane for a reason. It was always my job to take care of the farm animals, including the dogs. Every night at 6, I would get up and go feed the animals. This night in question was not much different, though this time I'd lost track of time, playing Gary's Mod online with some friends. On my way out, I made sure to grab a flashlight, as it was dark out by now, around 8:15. I was a little late. We had been having several storms lately, and thanks to Mother Nature, there was a thick fog rolling in. Other than that, things were normal. All I could really hear were my own heavy, fast-walking steps on the rocky road. You see,
Rocky Road.
I'm good when it comes to night or darkness. I've got this fear of the unknown, of what might be watching me that I can't see. So when I get up to the main barn with the cows, I head inside. Thank God we have a motion light outside, and the light switch inside is so
Hold on,
close
guys.
to the door, because the flashlight I had brought was not doing the job. They were always very happy when you brought them food. As I turned away, I noticed something in the cornfield through the fog, and my heart started to race, and my mind, of course, was thinking of something disturbing or creepy out there. But to my relief, it was a pack of white-tailed deer walking out. I was at first
Or was it? It might have been a Wendigo, you don't know.
But then relieved that it wasn't just something else, something more terrifying. By then, the cows were fed, and I moved on to feed the cats. A while back, people thought it was a good idea to drop cats off at our farm, hoping they wouldn't find their way backs to them. And they didn't. We still feed them, so don't worry. We're not those kinds of people. A few of our cats were already inside which was strange, as they would usually hang out at night, hoping to catch a few mice running in the fields. And they were a bit more jumpy than usual, but I ignored it. On my way back, I passed by our neighbor's house, the original farmhouse, sad that they had messed up the inside of it. When I made it back to our place, I grabbed a coffee can that I set out to fill the dogs' food bowls. With that in one hand and the flashlight in the other, I began to walk towards the dogs' barn. The dogs have little gates they run through to get to the fenced outside area, and normally at this time, you'd be barked at like crazy just by passing by. But I couldn't hear a single bark, and when I tried looking with the flashlight, the fog was too thick. I figured it was just late. Maybe they were tired, or just think I wasn't feeding them tonight because I was so late. As I continued my march...
Oh, I want to try something. Hold on.
I looked around at the tree lines that I could see through the fog, hoping to see a car passing by through the thick hedgerows, or collection of trees and weeds that form the border of the property line. I turned my head to the cornfield, as it was between the hedgerow and the barn. As I looked into the stalks, I saw two red glowing lights from the field,
Oh, hell no.
standing still and motionless. At first, my rational side took over. I thought it was just a light from the development next door, but that would be from the back of their house, and they wouldn't have any red lights. I doubt their perfect community would like lights like that. So I froze. After realizing that it couldn't be the development, I saw those lights move a bit.
Oh,
As I
sorry.
turned the flashlight to the cornfield, whatever it was made its way further into the field. This was in the middle of a harvest, so the corn was very tall. Tall enough to cover whatever the heck this thing was. I turned, rushing to the barn as fast as I could, and that's where I found the dogs, all silent and cowering with their tails between their legs. Apparently, whatever that was outside, it had freaked them out as well. Or maybe it was the storm. That's what I told myself, so that I could finish my duties. Nervously, I went on, feeding them, keeping my eyes fixed on the old glass window that was added to the barn. I saw a bit of motion outside, and the rational part of my mind just kept saying, it's just the storm. It's probably just the wind blowing some fallen leaves in front of it. Yeah, that's all. Nothing out of the ordinary. It was a bunch of bull, and I knew it. Whatever that thing was, it was out there. So I stayed inside, locking the doors as if that would keep me safe. But I did feel better knowing the dogs were with me. In my act of fear, I ran to the shelves where we kept the tools. I knew my father. He was a Second Amendment kind of guy, if you catch my drift. He had all kinds of things hidden everywhere that I could protect myself with. So I got one of the older crank air pieces, something that was fully functioning but wasn't very strong. But at the very least, I could cause some damage. I sat down on a tractor that we had stored in there, aiming at the areas this thing could enter in at any time. I sat there for a straight 30 minutes, my dog silently eating and drinking water. I waited for a while, scared out of my mind every moment, fully expecting to see something's face in that window, or something busting through the door that I wasn't ready for. But after a moment, I could not handle the waiting, so I decided I was done with this. I placed my protection back on the shelf, as it was pretty clunky, and running with it would be impossible. Then I sprinted to the second door. I swung it open in a hurry, and made a mad dash to the front door of my house. And as soon as I was outside, I began to hear the corn stalks next to me breaking, snapping, and something within them was definitely growling. It reminded me a bit of our dogs, our labs' growls, but only if it was 10 times as deep. The thing sounded huge. The creature must have been the size of a bear.
Hold on, you guys. I know I'm not talking that much.
The cornfield to my right.
Gotta look at something.
I ran faster than I
Right,
ever
I
ran
remember.
before. I don't think I could have run faster if I
Freaking
tried.
Jimmy Neutron.
Somehow, I survived. I made it to the front door, and I threw myself inside, crazily locking the door behind me. My mother, who was watching TV still, asked me where I'd been. I quickly walked past her, saying that I just fed the cows, and I needed to go to sleep. I laid in my bed for a very long time. It took all of my courage and several hours just to be able to shut my eyes, because I was too afraid to close them. Every little noise that I heard outside, it sent chills down my entire body. Luckily, I got a few hours of rest, and when I woke up the next day, my dad was angry. Not only did he find the protection that I'd used the previous night, loaded with the safety off and leaning against the wall, he found a bunch of his corn stalks pushed over and kicked down and trampled on. I defended myself, telling him that I did the cows late last night, and I rushed back home to feed the dogs. He didn't buy it, and I was forced to salvage what corn was still on the stalks. I've never experienced anything like this to this day. While I still am slightly afraid of what's out there, my fear has gone away in the past years. The only thing I can say is, if you live in the Delmarva area, always be sure to keep your eyes and ears open. Number 2. Out of Work Scarecrows. Submitted by Ulashai. I've lived next to an abandoned farm my whole life. I'm 17 now, and I'm looking forward to going to university to study medicine. As you should know, with the way the economy has been acting the last couple of years, there have been so many closures of farms. A multitude of farmers have gone bankrupt, and they've had to sell and move on to something else. It's very unfortunate and sad to hear. The farm I lived next to had always been abandoned, and a couple of months ago, me and my 2 friends decided to venture into the abandoned farm for a bit of fun. I remember as a child, my primary school took our whole class to visit a popular farm, and I enjoyed looking at the animals and seeing how it all worked. As me and my 2 friends, Barry and Steve, stepped onto the abandoned farm, nothing felt off or unnerving, but plenty of excitement was running through our veins. We were just talking amongst ourselves as we were covered in darkness, and our mobile phones being
Mom
our
must
only
be home.
source of light. You could feel the uselessness of the land, and you could tell how neglected it was, how it was not needed in society anymore. It was sad, really. Barry came to observe how we didn't come across any broken bottles or used needles, or how this abandoned farmland didn't come to be some haven for junkies. It was like it was abandoned, but something was still looking over it. We all stopped for a moment to just take in the atmosphere of the empty farm. The place was huge, and back in the olden days, it used to soar in profits for our area, and offered jobs to a number of people. Times have sorely changed, I thought. And that's when we heard something in one of the abandoned barns. We ignored it, thinking it was some nighttime animal playing with some broken farm equipment. There was still plenty of that, and barns that were once used to keep in sheep and cows. It was like the farm just stopped one day. It had the same vibe of a ghost town. Steve dropped his energy drink after he had finished it, and I dropped my drink after that. As the 3 of us walked a little further from our littering, we all heard something whiz right past us so fast and so quickly. Mine and Steve's empty drinks had disappeared from the ground, and the 3 of us decided to throw more things onto the ground to see what happened. We did so, then walked away from our littering once more, and again we heard the same fast whizzing sound moving through the wind. Our litter had been taken away, as if something or someone was keeping the farm clean. Then Barry screamed, saying that he saw someone waving in the barn. The place was supposed to be abandoned, but apparently Barry said that whoever it was went back in the barn as if they were hiding. Slowly, the three of us went towards the old barn. As we stepped inside, it was pitch black. We
Peace.
switched on our mobile phones' flashlights.